Welcome into the CHGO White Sox post-game show, coming to you live from Studio B of our CHGO offices here in the West Loop of Chicago. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. Alongside me is Herb Lawrence.
Hello.
You can follow him at Ecknerwall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader. We're being produced today by Stephen Nicholas. You got a shirt over there?
I do. I went to the White Sox game, and thank you to Chris and his family for inviting me over. Twitchy. Got me a Winning Ugly 1983 celebration shirt. It's a nice ringer t-shirt.
Why don't you just lay it out here? Well, so there's some people, a.k.a. Fred, can see. Shout out to Fred for hanging out with us in the
ringer
chat.
tee. It's nice.
People are probably bemoaning the Bears loss right now, so not celebrating the 40th anniversary of the Winning Ugly team, the 1983 AL West champions. But Tony La Russa was there. You were there. Twitchy was there. Tony La Russa was there. Harold Baines was there. Ron Kittle was always there. I think Ron
making
Kittle
benches and balls there. And shit. Or benches out of bats and balls.
I was going to say Patches. Who's Patches?
Houlihan.
No, I know, but the guy, Tom Paciorek.
Oh, Wimpy.
I was going to call him Patches. Who's Patches? All right. Well, I don't know how to fold a T-shirt. Anyways. We're coming to you live after a 4-0 loss. Most people are bemoaning the Bears loss right now, 27-17 to the Bucks. But hey, we got to be here for you, covering the White Sox 2023 fall to 90 or to 100 losses. They fall to 57-93 on the year, and Fred calls them the bad news Bears of the MLB. They keep trucking to 100 losses. Now I think they need to go 8-7 in their last 15 to avoid 100 losses, which just ain't happening.
Good luck. Yeah, that's going to be tough for them. Just a bad showing all weekend long. Minnesota Twins, they're not that good, but they're the cream of the AL Central and took it to the White Sox once again. At least the White Sox grabbed one game, luckily. And now they're just going to go to this long dredge of the rest of the season, trying to avoid 100 losses, but does it really matter? We know it's a horrible team. I think, in history, when we call back this team and we say this is part of Chris Getz / Rick Hahn / Kenny Williams-Ledger, it's like that 100-loss team, man, that was a bad, horrible team that wasn't supposed to be as such.
Yes, and somehow Pedro Grifol is talking about them competing in 2024. We're going to get to that, and then Vinny Duber wrote about Michael Kopech, so we're going to get to that as well. Vinny Duber's
not why we're doing that, but why is he on the team? Golly.
What?
Pedro.
He's just here. And he's going to be here next year, too. So
just yelling and
he's
such.
He's here for the culture.
Well, and people don't want to listen to him, and that's basically what this quote and what we're going to play for people is. But I'm real sick of hearing him talk.
Oh, yeah.
But real quick, 12 games left. So Sox need to go 6-6 in their last 12 to avoid 100 losses. So if they go 5-7, that's 100 losses. They go anything worse, that's 100-plus losses.
Going on the road to the Nationals.
3 games there.
And then
3 at Boston.
3 at Boston.
6 at home versus the NL West. 3 against Arizona. 3 against San Diego. Arizona's fighting for a wild
card. Can they get
card.
6 wins out of that, Sean?
They're losing all 3 to Arizona.
Oh, yeah. God, they wrecked the Cubs this weekend. I mean, still got a game tonight and last weekend, too. Golly, the Arizona Diamondbacks getting the Cubs out of the playoffs. Get on up there. And the Padres won't give a goddamn at the end of the year. No one will. So 6 wins, maybe? Maybe get 2 out of 3 from Washington?
No.
Get 1 from Boston? Get 2 from San Diego and maybe get 1 from Arizona?
I think Washington
6.
sweeps them. I think Arizona sweeps them.
Okay.
And I think they win 2 of their next 12.
Wow. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. This team has given up, doesn't believe in the manager, even though he's coming back. And
He believes in Chris Getz.
Today they put out one of the worst lineups I've seen in a while. It's a Sunday lineup. No Tim Anderson, no Yohan Moncada, no Luis Robert Jr. Results are what you get for nothing. Yeah. Dylan Cease pitched all right.
He was fine. Let's go to the Dylan stuff just so people can know what's going on with their really only pitcher for 2024 when it comes to starting. And, he's fine. He had 3 walks. So, the stuff, the actual velocity and the spin is fine. It's not down. And especially late in the season, you just wonder, like, how much is his gas tank hanging on there? I think Dylan would be fine if this team was in the playoffs, like at least gas tank wise. The results just aren't there. And you could show that next, Steven. 34 swings on his four-seam fastball, only 4 whiffs. And the most concerning thing is 11 swings on his slider, only 2 whiffs on that pitch. So just really avoiding, the Twins were really laying off that pitch, just not really trying to let it beat them. And it didn't today. Pretty decency in 18 called strikes, but altogether, when you put together the 26 called strikes and whiffs, it's 25% called strike plus whiff percentage, which is just below league average. He wasn't sharp today, but at least he can make 30 starts in a season. I mean, literally, that's like the slightest check that we can give the White Sox this year.
It's so bad.
A guy can make 30 starts.
And I know people have brought this up via the White Sox Twitter verse or yourself. But at the game, I was watching like with one eye of the White Sox game and also the Bears on the TV. You can tell when he's throwing a changeup. He slows down his delivery so much. Just shelve that. It's not effective. He only threw 4 of them. Why are you throwing it? And it looks like a pitch where if you just pay attention to his body language and how he actually does his windup, you know when a changeup's coming. He should just either find a way to throw a proper changeup or never throw that pitch ever again because it's useless.
I don't know if it's completely useless because, like, we saw last year when he was going up against Rizzo, he threw 2 of them back-to-back, and Rizzo knew they were coming, and he just swung through them because, again, it's 20 miles per hour off. It's basically not even a changeup. It's mostly an ephus.
Yeah.
So, I don't hate it, especially when he's going up against Minnesota, so they probably know that a little bit more, but it is just so drastic off of his actual slider fastball that I think it's so much of a changeup that like guys really just cannot time it up. So if he's thrown it 4 times, it's not the most ineffective pitch. I mean, like the biggest thing is his fastball needs to be better. 34 swings and 4 whiffs. That's not good, especially when you're up near 97, 98. You need to be able to locate that pitch near the top of the zone. You need to be able to get guys to swing through them, and he just really isn't getting that this year.
And if you watch the Edouard Julien home run, he was waiting for a fastball, and he uppercutted that sumbitch. You don't uppercut a high fastball usually. He's like, I know he's going to throw me a fastball. I thought it's going to be middle in and middle up, and I'm going to crush it. And Edouard Julien hit his 14th of the year. À la toi.
Can you flash the results against Steven? I think the knuckle curve needs to see a little bit more flex. I mean, it's always been a good pitch. It's got an insane amount of spin. I don't know if it hurts his arm or if there's some drawback on that. But it's I think 9 miles per hour slower than a slider. It's about 17 miles per hour slower still than his fastball. And it gets good results, 4 swings, 2 whiffs. He was able to locate it too, I think both on 0-0 counts, which Katz likes. And you get 34% or 31% called strike plus whiff percentage. Like if a guy's looking to uppercut a fastball, it's pretty easy. I don't know if it's pretty easy, but he was having an easy time today throwing that curveball for a strike. So I don't know if you throw a curveball on the outside of the part of the plate, you probably get Julien, but he got him that time. So if you are watching, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. We got a complaint recently that our ads were too long, so we're gonna take that into account. We are going to get through this not quickly, but just efficiently.
Yes.
We are going to tell you about the best TV service out there. If you have been looking for a way to watch the White Sox, the Cubs, MLB playoffs coming up, the Bears, whether it be Red Zone, whether it be the 3 p.m. games, whether it be the 7 o'clock games, Fubo TV is your place to stream live TV from any device. I did it from my TV yesterday to watch college football. Then I streamed it from my phone. We could stream it here off of a computer. It's just perfect. You could watch local teams while traveling as well if that's important to you. But most importantly, you could watch the most Chicago sports for the lowest price, and you can start watching immediately with a free trial at FuboTV.com/CHGO. There's no contract, no cable, no hassle. Just sign up and start watching. And if you miss a game, if you want to catch up on a game, if you want to go back and see Eduardo Julian uppercut a home run, they have 1,000 hours of cloud DVR included at no extra charge. Again, you got the end of the White Sox season to watch. You got 15 more Bears games to watch. You got Red Zone to watch.
Trying to
There's
sell
still
this,
some,
brother.
3 p.m. games coming up. And a good college football week coming up on Saturday.
Oh, man. College football is so great.
What is it? Alabama? No, Ohio State and Notre Dame. Come on, that should be good. Watch your favorite college football and the NFL with Fubo. Go to www.FuboTV.com/CHGO to sign up for 15% off your first month of Fubo Pro. Thank you to Fubo. And it is truly the best TV service. I was going to say the C word. CABLE.
Yes.
I don't know. Get your mind out of the gutter, Steven. What the hell do you think I'm going to say? We're in an ad read about Fubo. Mercy. TV service. It's the best TV service out there. Head out of the damn gutter. All right. Speaking of people with their heads in the gutter, Pedro Grifol spoke. He was asked about, and this is about a 4-minute cut, so bear with Pedro here. It kind of builds up. It's kind of like a song that really, it's kind of slow, kind of moody, and then it builds up kind of into a storm.
Gets to its crescendo.
It really hits its peak at the end. The question was from Merkin, and it was kind of talking about young players like Colson Montgomery. I believe there was a quote that we played from Nick Nastrini saying that he wanted to be on the team next year. Yep. And I think Chris Getz kind of said, we love that type of attitude. That's the type of attitude that we want. I think. I could be wrong. We'll ask Vinny once he gets back on. But that was basically what the question was from Merkin to Pedro. So here's Pedro saying what he thinks or wants from players in AAA coming into spring training and what he wants the energy for spring training 2024 to be.
If there's ever an opportunity to do that, this is it. So my suggestion, my advice to everybody that's going to come to our camp next year in 2024, if they truly want to play in the big leagues, they got to come in with that mindset because they're going to have an opportunity to. They really are. So, like I said, we share pretty similar, if not exact, vision on how we want to see this thing look like next year. And it's pretty neat and cool to know that the general manager and the manager sees things the same way and the style of baseball that we want to play. And I remember him as a player. He played that style of baseball. He was a smart player that ran the bases well, was consistent as consistent can be, and that's the kind of baseball he wants to see, and that's the kind of baseball I want to see. I mean, that's how when I was in Kansas City, that's how we won championships, consistent baseball, play every day and do whatever it takes to win a baseball game and pitch. So that's where we're trending. So yes, if you're coming to spring training with us next year in 2024 and you really have goals to make a big league team, you're probably not going to have a better opportunity in the 2024 White Sox. So
what makes you believe that you can turn it around in 1 year?
Why wouldn't we be able to?
Well, just in general, teams that with this kind of record, it takes a couple years to get that.
As a matter of fact, I wish I would have seen that report a little clear. I would have dove in a little more, but there's a pretty good percentage of teams that have been out there that can turn it around in 1 year. And obviously it depends on what we do this off season, but I'm pretty confident we can.
Do you expect the Sox to spend more this off season? You talked to Chris about that.
I don't think that. Number one, I haven't talked to him about spending money, and that's not my place to dive into. That's his responsibility. Him and Jerry, I'm sure, have had those conversations and will continue to have them. But I expect us to be extremely active, looking for the type of players that we feel can turn this thing around in a year. and sustain it for years to come. So, but at this time, and you'll hear me say this a bunch moving forward, like, enough with the talk. Nobody wants to hear the talk anymore. Everybody just wants to see us win baseball games. So I'm not going to sit here and promise anything, or because nobody wants to hear it. They've heard it for a long, long time, right? It's about us winning baseball games. So until April next year, a couple weeks into April, a couple weeks into the season, that's when everybody should have an opinion and make a decision on whether they like what we put on the field or not. And it's all going to be based on wins and losses. That's where we're at. I don't think we can talk our way into anything other than winning baseball games, at the start of next season. And that's what you hear from me all winter long. I'm done with the, talking about any type of core or talent or a talent on paper. I'm done with that stuff. We got to prove it there, and that's the only place that everybody in this building that comes to see us play, they want us to prove it. They don't want us to prove it in front of a microphone anymore. That doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't mean anything to them. And even if I was a fan, it wouldn't mean anything to me either. So we just got to prove it on the field.
Sorry for a little bit of plane flying over there at the end, but Pedro basically saying we can't prove it in front of a microphone anymore. We have to prove it out on the field. And if you are hanging out with us, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. We appreciate you hanging out with us, even though this team is approaching 100 losses. There's a lot of things in there that sticks out to me in that 4-minute chunk. And I think the thing that makes me most queasy is when they originally brought in Pedro in November.
Yep.
I felt okay. Wanted to give him a shot. I thought that he seemed competent. I thought that he seemed very organized. He seemed like he knew what this team needed, and that was consistent defense and consistent effort.
Yep.
And I, in the year less since, have not seen anything that actually instills faith into Pedro Grifol. So it seems like what he is doing by saying the general manager and manager want to have the same style of play, that it is the style of play that the general manager had when he was a player, that they're going to win championships with consistent baseball like they did in Kansas City. And Paul Sullivan asked the question about, what makes you so confident to bounce back in 2024? And he says, why wouldn't we?
Yeah.
Well, is it because of the team on paper? Is it because of how good you are at building up these types of baseball players? He says they're going to be active and looking for the type of ball players we want. Pedro Grifol is putting his entire life, I will say, on the table and saying, I can fix all these players. I know what's wrong with all these players. We're going to give them regimens. We're going to be able to, be militant in the offseason, making sure these players are doing work. That's fine. I have nothing wrong with that, saying that. But if this team comes out and looks like shit again,
which they will,
buddy, you're going to look like a fucking fraud. You are going to look stupid because you better be able to coach all these players up. You better be able to bring consistent effort because it's what you said a year ago. This shit should have been happening, and your team is crawling towards 100 losses. And people thought, oh, there's no way that it could be this bad. We're 60 games in. There's no way it could be this bad. There's no way this team can lose 100 baseball games. And here we are. There's no improvement. We see just complete decline from every player outside of Luis Robert and Yohan Moncada. Moncada's been, when he's been healthy,
better.
He's been fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give him, but he's barely been healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we buying into? This guy sucks. And until he proves me otherwise, which apparently I have to wait until April of next year, I'm going to continue to think he sucks. And he's got a huge hill to climb up to prove to me that he doesn't suck.
Yeah, and like you were bringing up with the Paul Sullivan question, Paul asked a fair question, a very fair question of how are you going to do that? This team is 35, 36 games below 500. Terrible. Running back most of the people you got on the field right now. And he's like, taken aback by your questioning this terrible ass team and my skills. Yeah, you haven't done anything. And like you said, this year counts on Pedro's ledger. This isn't because of somebody else did something. This number of losses is on Pedro, not anybody else. So I don't know how he's going to fix Eloy Jimenez, how he's going to fix Tim Anderson and all the players, and have the players that played like Chris Getz. No. Chris Getz was like a one WAR his whole career, total. Like his whole career. Just absolutely replacement level for like 7 years. Not good at all. So I don't want
3 career home runs.
Oh my God. I don't want a bunch of career Chris Getz's. Give me more Luis Roberts. I know that's hard to say, but shoot for that one instead of the low ground of Chris Getz.
Well, and just to go to Jared before we pop over to Vinny in the at Guaranteed Rate Field, Jared says, scroll up just a little bit. What's he supposed to say, Sean? Again, I'm fine with him saying we can't, like, what's on paper is on paper. Like, you know, we have to prove it next year on the field. I'm totally fine with him saying that. And of course, like, you know, you're 150 games into the season. I think he just wants to end and stop having media sessions pregame, right? No, I get that. But it's the same thing that Rick Hahn was saying last year, that they have to prove it on the field for the fans, and now Rick Hahn's fired. And now they're just saying that they have to prove it on the field again. It's a broken tape, and I'm just sick of this guy getting another chance. I'm sick of Chris Getz being the general manager, and I'm sick of the owner, because this guy has done nothing to prove that he deserves to be the manager in 2024. So when he says, we got to prove it next year, no fucking shit. You're going to lose 100 games. And as Paul Sullivan writes in his article, the Sox have lost 90 more games 12 times since division play began in 1969. Only one 90-plus loss Sox team gone to the postseason the following year. Ozzie Guillen's 2008 Sox after 90 losses in 2007. The 90 Sox won 94 games after losing 92 in 1989, but finished second to the Oakland A's in the American League West. Most of the rest finished under 500 the next season. So he's got a huge hill to climb, and he's saying that, you know, we have to go out there and prove it and win, and why not? Again, why wouldn't we be able to? Because you just lost 100 games. You just went 81 and 81. We thought all of those teams on paper were good enough.
Yep.
There wasn't enough health to get them to the end of 162. There is nothing over the past 2 years, plus 300 games, that has me putting any faith in this White Sox core, in this White Sox front office, in this White Sox manager, in this White Sox owner. So I don't think that any offseason is going to be able to let the White Sox bounce back and be even finishing second or better in the AL Central next year. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't blame him for saying what he said. It's just, I don't know if he should be the manager.
As I always ask with Rick Hahn, I'll ask of Pedro Grifol. What does he do well? Give me an answer. Anything? Does he do anything well? Anything that transcends all the badness of the team? No. There's everything in game. You've seen multiple efforts of being bad decisions and bad thought process while he's doing it. This change of Michael Kopech from starter to bullpen, also bad. I know that was more of collaboration with him and Chris Getz and everybody else and Ethan Katz, but still bad. What does he do? He doesn't do anything well. So why is he coming back? Because him and Chris are like this. Tight. Two terrible guys who don't deserve their jobs going forward to the next years.
They're modeling the White Sox organization in 2024 after a player they drafted in 2005.
The only experience that they have is one terrible season. This one.
Let's go out to Guaranteed Rate Field to our friend Vinny Duber. Hi, Vinny.
Wow, guys, what a cheery, happy day you're having here. My goodness.
If the Bears lost, if the Bears won, it would have been better.
It was the Bears that caused all this.
I was going to say, this team has been doing this for quite some time now. I don't think they should be eliciting this sort of reaction from you guys.
The Bears are following the White Sox playbook. What the hell? That's not the one to follow. At least follow the Cubs one. It's a little better one.
Hey, as long as Connor Bedard pays off, I think we'll be fine. That's Vinny Duber. You can follow him at Vinny Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer. We've been chatting a little bit about Pedro here. We played a little bit of a 5-minute chunk from what he said on Friday. We haven't gotten into your most recent piece at allchgo.com yet, though. Michael Kopech, Herb just touched upon it, but you talked to Michael on Friday, but then we kind of saw the true blow up on Saturday. So I'll kind of work back before you talk to, or kind of work back before we get to you talking to Michael on Friday. What did you make of the Saturday blow up after Kopech goes into the 9th inning, and then he gets taken out after the tough outing, and we see him smashing the Gatorade bottle, right?
Glove.
Yeah, glove. We see the complete blow up. How did we get to that point?
I mean, he was not very good in his relief outing, right? I mean, if the whole thing is that you're going to distill it down to 1 inning, for the guy and give him a better chance to kind of rack up these quote unquote small wins or little victories, whatever you want to call them. And then the guy goes out there in that small window and gives up 4 runs. Yeah, that's not good. And so, it was hits. It was him not getting the job done. And I mean, I think we talked about when the move was made to move him from the rotation to the bullpen. All these people, all these fans who we've been listening to all year or reading their comments all year saying, put him in the bullpen. He's a bullpen arm. He's a bullpen arm. Why don't you take a look at those first inning numbers because they're not very good. And then he goes out there in these 1 inning stints now and he's having his first innings, right? He's walking guys. He's giving up home runs. He's giving up hits. He's giving up runs. This is the same thing we've seen all year. So the move to the bullpen, obviously a small sample size, only been out there 3 times, but it's the same. He's fighting the same battles as he was when he was in the rotation up until, a week or so ago. So,
yeah, and we're going to get to Vinny's exclusive sit-down with Kopech in just a second, a little 7-minute chat between Kopech and Vinny. We're going to tell you first about our friends over at Goose Island. Goose Island has been Chicago's beer since 1988. I think that we need a Super Bowl for our friends over at Goose Island. I mean, they've been in business, and there hasn't been a single White Sox, or there hasn't been a single Bears Super Bowl to celebrate.
I mean, not win, but they went there.
Yeah, well, what does it... If you're not first, you're last. CHGO, supported by Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer since 1988. Their beer roster includes the Beer Hug family, the 312 Wheat Ale, the Full Pocket Pills, and, of course, Oktoberfest, since it is this season, to get, spooky and enjoy the fall. And you can go enjoy any of these. Grab an ultra-fresh brewery-exclusive beer at Goose Island's original brewhouse on Clybourne Avenue in Lincoln Park or from their tap room on Fulton Street in Westtown. Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer. Herb, you got a favorite of the ones I mentioned? Or you went there and you had the Sophie, right, on tap?
I had the Paloma, the tequila version of their drink. But Matilda's my favorite. There
you go. All right, so go check that out over either in Westtown or Lincoln Park. Again, Goose Island Beer Company, Chicago's beer. Quick super chat from J Miller 3389. I can tell Kopech isn't in a good headspace. Did you catch him throwing his glove on the dugout bench? We did. I know. Whoops, never mind. Yeah. But before we get to the point of him smashing his glove, Vinny chatted with him on Friday, and you do hear the frustration in his voice, and you do hear, I think, a pitcher that does seem a little lost. So here is Michael Kopech on the move to the bullpen and his expectations for 2024.
Any small win for me is going to go a long way. I think for the team, it's kind of the same idea. Like we're looking to pick up as many wins as we can here on the last stretch and end on a positive note. As an individual, that's kind of what you're looking forward to too. So just looking to go out there. I saw that my velocity's upticked out of the bullpen. That's a win. I'm looking to throw more first pitch strikes, more 2 out of 3. So far that it's been slightly better, but still had a couple walks out of the bullpen. So looking to stay more aggressive in the zone, and that'll be a win if I can accomplish that. So small successes to end on a high note and kind of know the adjustments that I need to make as a pitcher and as an athlete going into the off season, and then come back next year ready to compete.
What was the explanation from Pedro Grifol and anybody else involved in that decision as to how those small wins might be more achievable out of the bullpen versus the rotation?
It would kind of be, less of a pressure-filled role for me. I've been working really hard to combat my struggles this season with, the days in between starts. And a lot of times you can sit and stir in that a little too much, whether that be physically overworking yourself or throwing more and more to try to find something, or if it's just overthinking. And I've kind of done all of the above this year at various times. And to be able to be down there and have to be ready every day and not allow that to become something that's an obstacle, I think is something that think they think will be a little bit less stress for me and just focus on what I need to do on the mound. I think I'm capable of doing that in the starting rotation, but it is something where it's like I have to go get these guys out, and that's priority number one. That should be priority number one, period. But I think that's a learning adjustment for me, and they're giving me a chance to learn that.
You've talked a lot about the mental side of the game and the emotional side of the game and how that's factored into your season this year. What kind of progress have you made on that front? You know, it's very evident sometimes that you're frustrated out there. How have you kind of made some progress on that from maybe early in the year to now?
Yeah, I think I think it's one thing when you're not having success and you're struggling a little bit, or vice versa rather. If you're having success and you have a game where you struggle and you get angry or emotional, it's a part of the game. It's the guy's fire. He's a competitor, and when it seems to be the pattern of the season and you're having a pretty struggle-filled season, it becomes an obstacle. It becomes a distraction for the team when you act that way. And I've tried to keep myself under control, despite the fact that I am pretty infuriated with how my season's gone. Definitely disappointed, but I'm trying to not bring any more distractions or negativity to the team. So I think in the past few weeks, albeit I'm not excited about how I've pitched in the past few weeks either, that I've kind of taken a step back on having blow-ups, which is something that, it's nice to be able to be in control of something when you're in a game like this where you ultimately don't have very much control of anything.
Yeah. What kind of is your outlook on the offseason? Pedro said that, they envision you as a starter next year. What is your kind of outlook on the offseason as to what you need to work on and what your work is going to look like as you prepare for next spring?
Yeah, I mean, if that's what I'm going to be told going into the offseason, then I'm going to continue to work as a starter in the offseason. So it'd be a lot of, stamina-based training, and the idea of working on pitching is going to be the same regardless. So, I'm going to work on stuff and command and throw accordingly. But, as far as if I'm training as a starter or reliever, there's certain adjustments that could be made. But overall, the idea is to come into camp in the best shape I can be in to be able to help this team win in whatever role that is.
Pedro's made it pretty clear to us that they think you can be a starter next year. Have they left it a little bit more open-ended to you as an anything's possible kind of situation? Or?
No, not necessarily. They have told me that I'm going to come back as a starter, but just keeping an open mind about what this game is. You never know what can happen. I'm just, like I said, trying to be as prepared for next season as possible with whatever that has to offer.
You mentioned some things that might be seen as a positive when things are going well can end up being seen as a negative when things are going poorly. Do you think that applies to the team as a whole too? I mean, so many people are, latching on to this, that, and the other about you guys. Is it kind of just a byproduct of what the record looks like, do you think?
I think that happens. I don't think any team out there is perfect, and they probably all have their issues, but when a team is winning, a lot of that will go unnoticed. And when a team is losing, there's a magnifying glass on everything that's going wrong. Maybe rightfully so. You want to clean up as many of those areas as possible, and maybe winning teams have a lot less of them. But at the same time, us being as prepared to win a ball game as possible and going out there and capitalizing on that, I think puts a lot of the issues to rest.
What do you look at from a team standpoint as you guys go into this offseason and into next season? I mean, how beneficial will the record going back to 0-0 be, and do you think that some of the stuff you're hearing from Pedro and Chris in the front office will help you guys move forward?
Yeah, I think they're right where they need to be as far as finishing the season as strong as we can and moving forward to next year. A fresh start would definitely be great for all of us, especially those of us that have struggled and those of us that have had pretty good seasons. I think those guys will ride that into next season, with a little bit of motivation on their back to help us win, more ball games and help us be a competitive team. And like I said, same for the guys that haven't had a great season, but I think we're all looking forward to a fresh start and being able to really show what we're capable of as a team.
Oh boy, we are also looking for this fresh start for the White Sox. I don't know if the CHGO White Sox podcast needs a fresh start, but we'll talk about it in the offseason. We'll regroup. But I don't really want to talk about that until April. I do want to mention and give a shout out to Fred. The audio and video clips this year have been awesome, Vinny. So thank you again for always showing up to Guaranteed Rate Field. Even when we're not doing post-game shows like Saturday, you're doing the fans great service. So check out Vinny's article up at allchgo.com. A lot of interesting stuff in that with Kopech. What stuck out to you the most? It seems like he is going to be a starter in 2024, and we've mentioned it does seem like the shape is important to him, the stamina. Again, like we talked about him not being able to go 6 innings. It seems like it is about, I'm just going to try to be the most ready for 2024. I don't know if I'm going to be a reliever or a starter. I'm just going to be a pitcher who shows up to spring training.
Well, I mean, listen, there's definitely something to be said about keeping it simple, right? I mean, we've seen a lot of players have success with that. And it kind of goes into, I guess, what my biggest takeaway was him kind of shedding more light on this move and why they did it. And really, when you hear Michael Kopech explain kind of the thought process, it makes a little bit more sense, doesn't it, Herb? I mean, he's sitting there saying, listen, I was overthinking things so much in the 4 days between my starts that it was making it impossible for me to make any corrections. He was trying so hard. We always say, when a hitter is struggling, trying to go up there and hit a 8-run homer with one swing, it seems like Michael Kopech was trying to do that on a daily basis in between his starts. And so the idea that go out to the bullpen. You have no idea when you're going to pitch. It can happen at the drop of a hat. You don't sit and stew in it. You don't sit and think, oh my God, the next time I have to go out, I have to do this, and this, and you have 4 days, to just kind of rack your brain like crazy. And that makes a little bit more sense given the things that he has struggled with this season. I thought his explanations on, the mental and the emotional side of the game and how that has been just as tricky for him to master this year as anything else, was also interesting. Him, revealing that he is mad. He's not happy. I mean, obviously we saw it the other night when he's slamming his glove in the dugout, but for him to just sit there calmly and say, I'm pretty infuriated by the way my season has gone. I mean, you know that it's sitting with him. You know that it's bothering him kind of all the time. And I think anybody can relate to that because this is his job, his life, right? So, those two things are very interesting to me in terms of the future and what that looks like. We got another one this morning, just an adamant insistence from Pedro Grifol that Michael Kopech is going to be a starter next season. He's going to come up to camp as a starter, and obviously Pedro has been very insistent on the whole, everybody's competing for every spot and everything, and that's coach speak, and that's fine. But, Michael Kopech might be in a situation, depending on what Chris Getz does this year, where he is competing for a spot in the rotation, given how poorly things went this offseason. I know it's kind of crazy to think because we look at the starting pitching situation and we say, well, he has to be a part of this, and certainly the way it stands right now, he does. But who knows? We don't know what Chris Getz is going to go do, and getting some sort of middling starting pitcher is better than trotting a guy out there with a 5.5 ERA every day, or every fifth day. So we'll see what happens. And Pedro did bring up, kind of throwing a qualifier in at the end. He's a starter. But if that doesn't work, he's versatile and he could go to the bullpen, kind of thing like that. So those doors are open, and I don't think that Pedro said he's not even thinking about that yet, that possibility. I know other people are, given the performance, but I truly think that he's going to start the season as a starter next year. That being said, though, the door is open if another season like this happens, if another group of results like this happen, for him to be used in a different way, because I think they're going to try to get everything they can out of a guy who they think has immense talent and immense potential still.
Now his results, Vinny, don't really lend itself to being a bullpen guy because he walks everybody. And like you brought up, the first innings in his this year have been horrendous. So if you're a bullpen guy, that's what you're dealing with, only first innings mostly. And so I would want, and hearing how he sounds defeated. And probably he had the lofty goals of pitching 180 innings this year, which we kind of scoffed at because he had never even come close in his professional career to doing that. And so, I understand the frustration, the anger that he feels because, as you said, it is his occupation, it is his job, and he wants to be better than he has been. But also, it's up to the White Sox, if you bring up a good point right there, for him to be established role. If he is just thinking about every start, the 4 days when he's not starting, it's not helping him out. If the bullpen is a place where he can just do mindless type of pitching, get with Liam Hendricks, if he's still going to be on the team, to find the way to forget about the outing before, to flush it that quickly. Other bullpen pitchers can do that also. That would be more of a thing I would look for, because trusting him to be a year next year to be a starter when you've had a horrible year this year and another development year next year is foolhardy for me. Yeah, it's a lot of people you have to go and get 4 starters instead of 3, but I think established, hey, Michael, you were good in 2021 when you were in that hybrid reliever / spot starter. How about we go back to that? How about you're that guy, and you can give us a start every once in a while if somebody gets hurt, but we're not going to depend on you being the starter, because his voice, and I don't know, I'm not there. I can't read him, and I didn't see him there, Vinny, but he sounded defeated to me from the jump.
Well, at least about the defeated part. I mean, because he said not trying to bring any negativity or distractions, not trying to have any blow-ups, and then he had a blow-up. I mean, was that like a ticking time bomb thing? Like, because we haven't heard a ton about Kopech being negative, like, before this, or, like, having blow-ups before this. So, I mean, you feel free to answer Herb's question.
Well, I think... Well, I'll address a few things here. I think Herb, when he was talking to me, he was talking to me about negative stuff, right? He hasn't done well. And so, I mean, we see this all the time when a player, you'll see that when a player has a bad game, you're talking to him and it's like you're talking to him at a wake or a funeral sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, again, they had a bad game. It's their job. They did a bad job. Okay. You're not going to be sitting there joking with them all the time necessarily. So I understand that. And, after that interview was over, I was chatting with Michael about off the field stuff, regular, everyday, how you doing kind of stuff. And he was fine, and he was talking fine. So again, the subject matter, obviously, I'm sure he's sick of thinking about it, and I'm sure he's sick of talking about it. When he went out onto the field, though, Sean, you're right. He did the thing that he said he was trying not to do. He did the thing that he said he thought he had made progress on doing. He had an emotional blow up in the dugout. It was over in 2 seconds, but that's what happened. Because the game went so poorly for him. It went awful. He has been pitching very poorly this year. And it seems to me, from talking to him, from hearing what he said, that everything he's tried has failed to solve this problem. And so it probably feels like banging your head against the wall at some point. And, I can understand where frustration is going to come from when not only are you not getting the results that you want, but every single time you've tried to fix it, it has not worked. And so it's like you're exhausted, you're exasperated, you're frustrated. I mean, I get the way he feels. And I think I don't think people should be taking necessarily that as a sign of problems with him. I think that would happen to any number of players. It's just this is where it's gotten to him at the end of a very, very bad season.
And I don't think blow-ups are bad for athletes at all. Like, I'm fine if an athlete's frustrated. We'll go to tennis. At the U.S. Open, Coco Gauff won her first U.S. Open on September 9th, and Sabalenka was the woman she defeated, Irina Sabalenka. And there was locker room video. She walks in very calmly. She's holding her racket. She walks in. She walks over to the kind of side where I think she doesn't. She thinks no one can see her, but there is still camera on her. And she just goes over and she just breaks the hell out of her racket and she throws it in the garbage can. And I think she just needed to get it out of her system, move it on. And there's going to be another tournament next year. There's going to be another, single to win. You could try to grand slam it next year, but you just have to have that blow up. Like, I don't know if I'm really frustrated or like, I just feel for Kopech right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. It's like, You say, possibly moving him back to a hybrid in 2021. I think that would absolutely crush a player. Yeah. I think that this is a guy that seemingly knows what he needs to do. He needs to get his stamina up. He needs to be ready to throw 6 innings every single night. And I think that there is that probably giddiness to build up to the 5 days. But even in the interview with you, Vinny, he said, I'm trying to be ready every day. And I feel like there was kind of even a tone that he was just like, I don't know, I wish I was kind of being a starter. And he said, I think I'm capable of doing that in the starting rotation. If he does all this work in the offseason and he works in spring training and they're like, we're going to move you to the pen, I think that's stupid, especially with the lack of starting pitchers that they have right now. I was watching the 108 guys on Thursday, and Beefloaf brought up a stat about game score for starting pitchers. And this is from 2022 to 2023, if you want to flash this, Steven. If you look at the top 10 game scores, and again, 50 is average for game score. So if you go to 100, like that's really good. Those are like perfect games, 20 Ks, etc. Michael Kopech has 4 starts in the top 10, more than anyone else. I think Dylan might have 3. No, Dylan has 4. So him and Dylan have 4 of the 8, or 8 of the 10. But I mean, Kopech is a guy that has gone out and posted, and we've talked about those starts where he goes out and 8 innings, 1 hit. Like there are times where he can see it go into the hoop and he's shooting it from like 60 feet out, and he's like hitting these incredible shots. I don't think that the White Sox are in a position where they have pitchers to knock him out of the rotation, and I think that especially with him making 25 starts last year, 25 starts this year, he better be going on a hell of a lot of like Rocky montage, beach runnings, get that stamina up with your own Apollo Creed. Let's go. But I have faith in this guy, and I just feel really bad that his confidence is shaken this much. But it is on Ethan Katz, Pedro Grifol, like we just said with that clip that we played from Pedro earlier. If you are about growing and developing baseball players, here's your shot. Because this is a guy that on paper has all the stuff, on paper has gone out and had great starts as a major league starter. I don't think any of us, Vinny, me, you, Steven, think that he's a bullpen guy. I think that in 2024, he deserves a little bit more rope to go out and try to be a starter. If he gets his stamina up, I think that he can do it because he started hitting a wall in like June or July this year.
I think he's got to stop walking guys. That's what it comes down to. I mean, you can talk about stamina all you want. Your pitch count goes up when you lead the American League in walks, and that's why you can't go. That's why you can't go deep into games. Dylan Cease today should have thrown like 8 innings, and he had like 30 pitches in the 1 inning, and he had to come out of the game. He ended up throwing he really was fine, but 6 innings he throws 106 pitches. How many times before this has it been 5 innings and that many pitches? Right? I mean, and he walks a lot of guys. That's what happens. If you throw the ball in the strike zone a little bit more, you're not going to use so many pitches. You're not going to have to be out of there in the middle of the 5th inning. I'm not saying that you're wrong, Sean. This is a guy who obviously has had a very strange path to where he's been, misses 2 full seasons, and it seems like they've been spending 2.5 years, 3 years, quote unquote, building him up, right? But he should be there by now. And I think he thinks he's capable of being there by now. The reason your outings are over after 4 and 5 innings is because you lead the American League in walks. That's why.
Absolutely. I agree. No, 100%. But too, I just don't know if he has the guidance to get him there. Because it's like, it seems like the player's there. It seems like we've seen success stories with Katz before. I would even just write off Giolito. I mean, go look at Carlos Rodon getting paid. It seemed like there was successes there, but I find it very odd that they still moved him to the bullpen. I'd rather see him starting than Jose Urena, whatever. But I think the most concerning thing that he says is a win for you. I'm moving to the bullpen. I'm trying to get wins. And the first thing he says, my velocity is up a tick. That's a win. Well, no shit. I mean, you're throwing less pitches. You have more of a gas tank to go out of. That's just sensible. And if that's the wins you're trying to get, have him start and have him pitch only 3 innings. Hey, Michael, you're going to get capped at 60 pitches. You have 60 pitches to go make the most out of it, but you're still going to be in your starting routine. I still just don't understand this move to the bullpen, and I don't understand or believe that he's going to have the right and proper instruction this offseason to get him to a point where he needs to be an actual starter for this team.
It seems like they've exhausted all avenues with Katz and the pitching staff. But sometimes there's a different voice you hear, and it can, spark whatever's inside of you to, okay, yeah, I get it now. And I'm not saying fire Katz. They have like 3 or 4 different hitting coaches on staff. Why not another pitching coach that's there, another voice to give to Michael? Maybe that unlocks him to where he's throwing strikes. Because it's not about not wanting to throw strikes. I'm sure he wants to get these guys out, and he doesn't want to walk and lead the league in American League in walks. But it's obviously not clicking right now for him and what Katz is telling him and the different scenarios he's going through. How about you do this? How about you do that? How about you do that? And it's not working. And that's why he's frustrated. That's why he's throwing a glove during the game on Friday, because he's like, what the hell? I'm doing all the stuff that I've been told, and I'm doing it right, and still the results are this. So maybe a different voice in the clubhouse for him specifically to get him unlocked, because like you said, when he's great, he's great. He's at the top of the league.
One thing Pedro said today was, and I think I put this in the story, don't remember exactly, but he said this morning, in talking about their belief in Kopech as a starter, what they're going to put in to him being a starter. He says they're going to exhaust every possibility to try to get him in, to be the pitcher that they envision that he can be. And he mentions, we're going to use every resource in the organization. We're going to use every resource we can find outside the organization to try and turn him into that pitcher. And so maybe there are some plans to hear from different voices and try new things and try different things, because this is a guy who they have believed in for 7 years. 7 years ago, they made that trade with the Red Sox to bring him over here. They believed then that he had the potential to be a top of the rotation starter for them. And it sure sounds like they still believe he can be that guy. The thing is, it's been 7 years, and that's kind of ridiculous to think about, but they need him to be that guy starting in March, because they don't have it, because between now and then they'll have some more pitchers, but right now they've got him and Dylan Cease. So they need those two guys to perform and perform really well next year.
Yeah, the quote you included, he's going to come into spring training to try to win a job in that rotation. The great thing about him is he's versatile. We've seen him do both, starting and relieving. If one doesn't work, he'll fall into the other. He won't fall into the underbelly of the bullpen. He falls into the leverage side of the bullpen, but I'm not there yet. So we'll see what the offseason work looks like, but I hate that quote. He's a starter, and I get that you're trying to say, like, he'll win a job, and even Kopech, I feel like, has a really smart understanding and an understanding of, hey, baseball's going to have its ups and downs. He said that with you, Vinny, on Friday. But I think it'd be a mistake that after 7 years you wouldn't let him give a chance in the bullpen or in the rotation to start the year. Like, here, maybe put the pressure on him to try to make the rotation, but if he's not one of the first 5 starters, like, who is?
I mean, are
you going to give Nick Nastrini the rotation spot over Kopech?
No, but if they go out and sign 3,
will they?
They won't. But I wouldn't say, hey, we're going to leave a spot open for Michael Kopech. There's a guy available that is going to cost you not that much money, and as Vinny says, every 5th day he's major league average. You might take that over Kopech.
I don't know. I mean, even with flashing the stat of him being in the 4 of the top 10 game scores, if you look at game scores starts under 50, scores under 50, so bad starts, Kopech leads since 2022 for the White Sox in 25. Lance Lynn's second with 2020. Kopech's got 25. Lynn's got 22. So, like, hey, I mean, the Dodgers found a spot for Kopech. I don't know. I think for Lynn, I feel like Kopech's got a spot somewhere, but we'll see. Vinny, thank you for your work. Thank you for the audio this weekend. Make sure you read that piece at allchgo.com and follow Vinny at Vinny Duber. He's our CHGO White Sox beat writer, giving you a thumbs up on the bottom of the screen. That's Herb Lawrence. You can follow him at EctorWall23. He's our CHGO White Sox community leader, and I'm Sean Anderson. You can follow me at Sean_W_Anderson. We'll see you tomorrow for more White Sox baseball. Thank you to Stephen Nicholas for producing the show. Bye.